Well, lads, what's the crack? Solo video? What? Yes, I'm doing something different on this channel. Don't expect it to be a series unless this video does quite well. The only way it's going to do well is if you guys like and comment on it to say that you like it. Potentially a new series, but like, as I said, unless this does well, I only really have time for the podcast at the minute. Yes, I am Harry from the Golden Hour Film Podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about two films. One that we will be covering on the podcast, as you already know, this Friday. The undeniable classic, one of my personal favorite films ever made, 1960s Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. And I'm also going to be talking about a film that I somehow have never seen until today. And if you're confused as to why I said I hadn't seen it on the podcast, we actually pre-recorded the podcast a while ago, and I'm only just recording this now. So it's 1998's Psycho, or Vince Vaughn Psycho, as I so affectionately call it. And I'll be honest, yeah, it sucks. Why the film exists is absolutely beyond me, other than the fact that Gus Van Sant won a bunch of awards for Good Will Hunting and had the power to walk into any studio and say, I'm going to make whatever I want. And they say, okay, make whatever you want. What's it going to be, Gus? And he says, I want to make a in-color, shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, but instead it's Vince Vaughn and he has a wank. That's pretty much what 1998 Psycho is. Yes, there is very few differences in the screenplay or shot list or even the editing, except for two scenes in particular.
What's that?
Between the two films. So why is 1998 Psycho so reviled? Well, for one, yeah, the performances aren't great, and you can't even really blame the actors for it. I'll be honest, Julianne Moore and William H. Macy, for me, did a fine job. Because particularly Julianne Moore, they tried their best to deliver the exact same lines from more or less the exact same screenplay from a film that came out 38 years prior. They somewhat twist it to a 90s aesthetic. William H. Macy actually, what am I saying? He's dressed like an LA Noire character. What am I actually talking about?
You fuck young boys, Valdez. Are you a madman?
And Heche, Heche, I want to say. Yeah, she's not very good in this film. I don't know why. Vince Vaughn gets pretty much all the flack, it seems, online when it comes to the performances these days. At the time, it was different. At the time, pretty much everybody was catching heat for this film. But these days, Vince Vaughn Psycho is pretty much that. It's Vince Vaughn getting slagged for being a pretty unconvincing Norman Bates. And yes, god damn, he is a pretty unconvincing Norman Bates, except for his little funny Peter Griffin laugh he does when he gets nervous. But Anne Heche as Marion Crane is pretty much equally as bad, in my opinion. I think it's kind of unfair to just say that it is Vince Vaughn who brings down the quality of acting in this film. Sure, he's not good, but he's not the only one. Now, when it comes to the actual differences in the film, there's very few, and most of them are incredibly unnecessary. One, we see Viggo Mortensen. Yes, he's in this film. By the way, the cast in this film is stacked. We see his ass. But Anne Heche goes one further, and we see her butthole. Yes, it's in the film. Don't know why, don't know how. It's in the film. Obviously, it's in color. And yeah, in the peephole scene where Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates looks through the peephole, and you're like, ooh, that's kind of unsettling. And then he leaves. No, Vince Vaughn full on has a tug. It's awful. It's truly awful. Also, some things are inevitably like adjusted for inflation, which is so fair. Instead of stealing 40k, Marion Crane steals 400k. Understandable. One line which is just absolutely ridiculous when her sister has gone missing, and Sam Loomis and Lila Crane decide that they are going to go and look for the presumed missing sister. She says, hold up, let me get my Walkman.
Let me get my Walkman.
Just to remind us, we're in the 90s. If you don't know what a Walkman is, fair enough. And then there's the bizarre, surreal editing for the two scenes, as I said prior. It's just the shower scene and as you will see in the podcast, one of my favorite scenes in the film where Mrs. Bates just fucking comes out of nowhere at the top of that staircase and slashes Arbogast in the face. Love that scene so much in the original. For some reason both of them are intercut with random editing, and I say random. The shower scene, one of the greatest scenes of all time, the remake of it, is just random stock footage of clouds getting dark. Sure. And then, the death of Arbogast when he's, falling down the stairs to his doom. We see a woman naked and tied up in bondage flash before his eyes, and then like a cow in the middle of the road. I'm not even gonna try and say that I'm even attempting to piece together what they represent, especially the ones before William H. Macy's character dies, but why? I don't understand how the guy who literally made My Own Private Idaho, a class adaptation of a classic, he takes it and he makes it cool whilst keeping the dialogue. And you can argue he kind of tried to do that here, but no, he fucking didn't, because he did a shot-for-shot remake, goddammit. It's not My Own Private Idaho. My Own Private Idaho is great. River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves will forever be great. And that film is Gus Van Sant adapting a work he clearly really cared about, taking it into the modern age, whilst keeping the old-timey screenplay, or in that case, just play. And he manages to get the balance of everything perfectly right, because he does some stuff kind of by himself. He really gets creative when it comes to adapting an older piece into the new age. In this case, it is pretty much just shot for shot remade, and it's ridiculously unnecessary. It shouldn't exist. I don't get it. I saw a comment which is so fair, and this might have got heat, but at least it would have fucking got something. Why don't you just have Marion Crane survive? Or why don't you have, I don't know, Marion Crane actually kills Norman Bates, or you have a totally different character go to the Bates Motel, or something. The whole point of Psycho at the time was it was subverting audiences' expectations, because you have Janet Leigh plastered on all of these posters everywhere, and she's the star. And then halfway into the film, the star gets murdered. It's why Hitchcock didn't even let people who were late into the screens. It was a rule. It was a gimmick, but it was a rule. You weren't allowed to see Psycho if you missed the start, because otherwise, hey, someone could show up halfway into Psycho, not see Janet Leigh, come out and then say to a bunch of people, hey, she's not even fucking in the film, and then it ruins Psycho. So the whole idea of Psycho at the time was to subvert audience expectations and then just take their expectations and flip them on their fucking head halfway into the film, and it worked. It is a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite films ever made. I love Psycho so much. Therefore, when you're doing this shot-for-shot stupid-ass remake with Vince Vaughn, who I love, by the way, Swingers was a seminal comedy for me when I was a teenager, and I don't mean that in a silly, Swingers, I used to have a poster of it. Guess I don't have a Swingers poster anymore. Don't clip that. This film could have done that. He could have had everyone think, oh yes, we're gonna go see Psycho, and then halfway through it becomes a different movie. It would have been cool, it would have been different, it would have been kind of like My Own Private Idaho, where he takes a thing and he spins it on its head. But no, he doesn't do that. We just basically do Psycho then for the end. Except Vince Vaughn in that wig. That is horrifying. That is horror for sure. The way he shoots the pinnacle of the film, some would say, the fruit cellar scene, is so bizarre. There's a big Avery down there for some reason. These aren't the things you should be changing to Psycho to warrant your film existing. Oh, I'll put an Avery in this scene because he likes birds. No, when you have that fly in the first scene because, oh, remember when they reference a fly at the end? I'm going to have flies as a recurring image. Or gross sandwiches. Ooh, we'll have gross sandwiches in multiple scenes because remember when he offered her a sandwich? That's not the point. Yeah, ultimately the title of this video is Who Did It Better? Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, one of the greatest horror films of all time, or Gus Van Sant's Psycho. Shut the fuck up. As if you were expecting me to say that it was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Of course it's Gus Van Sant. No, I'm joking. I'm not Quentin Tarantino. I obviously, with sound mind, believe that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is better than Gus Van Sant's Psycho. And yeah, that was a bit of a rant. Very little structure to this video, I must say. I just thought it'd be cool to do something different, something short, something individual on the channel. Hell, who knows? As I said, if this gets a couple of likes or a few comments to say that you liked it, that would be great, because obviously we have more episodes coming, and there's plenty of comparisons between, like, I'm not joking, the next 3-4 episodes of the podcast could all technically feature on this if this were to become a series. But as I said, this is literally just me sitting down in front of a camera and waffling for 10 minutes. So if you didn't like it, that's also fine, and I won't make it a series. I'm just testing stuff out. So hey, if you liked it, that would be great. Leave a like, leave a comment, share it with people. Hey, subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be cool also. And of course, Friday, 6 p.m. GMT, we are covering Psycho. Yeah, one of my absolute favorite films ever made. And I can't wait to talk about it. Well, I have. I can't wait for you to hear or see us talk about it on Friday on the Golden Era Film Podcast. I've been Harry Bailey, and thank you very much. I'll see you Friday.